All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews. And I just got done watching Wonder Woman 1984. Yeah, that's the thumbnail. That's what you clicked on. What else would we be talking about right now? Yeah, let's talk about Rise of Skywalker. No, we are here to talk about Wonder Woman 1984, which just aired on HBO Max a couple of minutes ago. The credits are still rolling. If you want to call it that. There was, other countries have seen this already. But this is America's first shot at it. It came out noon Eastern, so 11 o'clock here in Illinois. And, okay, we're not going to get into spoilers. I'll let you know when we get into any spoilers. But the first thing is, like, when I first started watching it, I needed to have like a little bit of a brain check. I had to realize what they were going for and can I get on board with what they were doing. And I could. I just made a little brain adjustment and said, screw it. Because first and foremost, after seeing this, I'm really glad. Merry Christmas, Quinn Green. How you doing? I'm really glad that this is the first superhero movie since Endgame and Far From Home that we got to see. I really am. After seeing this, I think this is the superhero movie that we kind of needed. Because in the end, this is a very hopeful and positive movie. And while it might not, hey Scott, what's going on, man? Hey Scott, yeah, that's all right, man. Thanks for stopping in. It's the kind of movie that I think we really kind of needed right now. And we could have used it back when it was first going to come out. But here we are, Christmas Day. And you know what? It's a pretty great Christmas present. Because this movie's not perfect. By any means, this movie's not perfect. I've got a couple of character issues. There's some logic issues and everything like that. But in the end, this was a really good movie. Now, after seeing it at home, and, if I had the possibility to see it at the theater, honestly, I might see it if one, like, there's no I don't think there's any theaters near me that are open. But if there was, and I was bored over the next couple of days, I'd probably go see it. Hey there, Silver Surfer. How you doing? Happy holidays to you too. I'd probably go see it, but knowing now, like, what the story is, I'm fine with seeing it for the first time at home. Because while because this is a review, this movie is big on character, light on action, and the only real gripe I would have is because of that, this movie is a little bit too long. This movie is 2.5 hours long. Now, I know that's almost getting to be standard for all these movies now. I think, like, maybe Ant-Man and the Wasp might not have been that long. I think that might have been just shy of 2 hours. But everything's about 2 hours to 2.5 hours long these days. And this is 2.5 hours. And there's one scene at the beginning that kind of sets up this is Wonder Woman and this is her world. But then you wait a really, really long time for an action scene. And again, it's fine. It's just, I think some people will be happy that they're just sitting at home with their kids rather than sitting in the theater with their kids for this movie, because the action is so few and far between. And she's not just doing, Wonder Woman things. She is being Diana. So yes, when the action does come, it's great, but none of the action really wasn't in the trailer. So, like, a lot of times when people will say all the jokes were in the trailer, this is the sequence where there are no action scenes in this movie that you didn't see part of in the trailer. But those are small things. The only like other like gripe I said I had was with some of the character gripe, and that was really just, and it's not her fault. I think Kristen Wiig is a fine actress. I think she's a funny comedian. But Kristen Wiig's Barbara Minerva, who becomes Cheetah, right? So as far as like supervillain nemesi go, I've always felt like Cheetah just never really stood next to Wonder Woman as equally like that's your nemesis. I mean, if you want to go kind of like, like it's interesting that that would be your nemesis, then yes. But I never really thought that Cheetah was a very capable adversary nemesis for Wonder Woman, a Superman level, character. She's up there right next to Superman, basically, right next to Superman, as far as unlimited power almost. Yeah, I don't want to get on that camp of like who's stronger, her or him, all right? But she's pretty damn strong. And so I just felt like Cheetah's just never been like, a match really for her. But the problem isn't that. The problem is the way that they just basically made Kristen Wiig be Kristen Wiig if she had got superpowers and then became a supervillain. I could just like Pedro Pascal in this movie, right? Hey, Raina, yeah, Merry Christmas, agree too long, living series over the movies. That's Pedro Pascal, though. See, he was playing, he got to create a character. Max Lord has been portrayed in different ways. This was a very interesting take on Max Lord. He got to really make this really broad character. And unfortunately, what Kristen Wiig was given was nerdy, mousy, gemologist, museum bookish girl who befriends Diana, accidentally gets a taste of power. It goes to her head. She gets that whole... First off, you have to do that. They do that whole she's all that thing where the beautiful woman is suddenly more beautiful after she gets the power or whatever, when it's really just you change your hairdo, you dress a little different, you walk with a little more confidence, that whole shenanigans thing. So they do that with her character, but then they give her the whole like, nobody ever paid attention to me, and I've always been the nerdy one that's actually really attractive, but nobody sees it because of plot. And so, unfortunately for her, that's what she gets. And Kristen Wiig deserves better than that. The audience deserves better than that. Wonder Woman deserves better than that. But again, it's not, like I said, it's not Kristen Wiig's fault. They hired her. She did the job. Now, we'd have to, to talk about, we already know who she is in the movie. We already know that she's going to be who she's going to be. So bit of a spoiler is just how the character looks when she becomes what she becomes. They did a mostly good job at not showing the face. Showing the face is the issue. Anybody who has a problem with what happened at the end of The Mandalorian season 2, how that looked, this is worse. The outfit, I know what they were going for, but the outfit looked like up close, looked like somebody would just put on like a bunch of shit over her. Like somebody stuck a bunch of like re-sewn together cat hair and put it on her. And then gave her kind of like the Daryl Hannah from Blade Runner look. But again, not her fault. But it's just like in a movie that's like that is full of all this great positive and hope and other stuff. It's also really cheesy. It takes the Aquaman route, which was We know what we're talking about here. We're talking about a guy who, can communicate with fish. He's been the joke of the DC universe. We know that this is comic book stuff. We know this is all silly. Let's embrace it and have fun with it. And whether you liked Aquaman or not, you have to admit that it went for it. It went full comic book. This does the same thing. And that's what I had to get around in my head. And once I did that, once I realized that it's embracing it like Aquaman did, it's going full cheesy comic book. It's going full 1970s Linda Carter, Wonder Woman, 1980s feel to it. Then you're going to have a fun time. I enjoyed that whole aspect of it. I hope that DC continues to do more movies like this, where they realize they don't have to take it so seriously. You can still have a hopeful, positive message, still get in the relevant stuff that they want to put in, because there was stuff in here definitely about like a kind of, how men behave in the male gaze and things like that. That's all in here. Silver Surfer saying I actually thought Aqua Bro was the best DC FU film. I thought it was a lot of fun. It knew what it was. It was having fun doing it. And that's, again, what this is doing. So, and they were able to get those relevant things out there, but we weren't awash in a sea of that. It was still mostly a story of Diana living post the events of World War II, with Steve and the war and everything, and how she's outlived everybody. And what does Diana get up to when she's all alone? What can she do in this world? And her kind of identity in this world. But they do it all in this very 80s TV show feel, the 70s kind of in there as well, making it feel like you're watching a show from that time period. They really do a good job of really kind of making you feel like you're in that time period without it being too overly saturated in nostalgia. I think the look of it was mostly what we saw. There wasn't a lot of product placement to me in this. There was the whole thing with Sears, but that's just funny. That's just good comedy. Bringing up Sears is really, really, really great. If you understand why that's great, then then you know what I'm talking about. I wrote down so much stuff. So yeah, if you can get past that, because you do have to understand that this is like set in the 80s. It feels like it's in the 80s. And I, for one, thought I might have a problem with this long term, but I really embraced it and just enjoyed myself, because this felt like one of the movies that was made in like the Sam Raimi era of Spider-Man movies, the early aughts, the 2000s. I had that level of naivete and innocence and just starting out and still enjoying the source material, still understanding what it is you're making, that you're not making. You're making comic book movies. And that's what this movie gets. That's what they gave us. I mean, the whole thing in the mall. Okay, so this movie, because we're going to have to start getting into spoilers here, right? But overall, the plot of this movie is Max Lord, played by Pedro Pascal, wants something. He needs power. He gets power. And all these things start to happen. And without you can't get into spoilers, but is this a good movie? Is this worth a watch? Well, it's definitely worth getting HBO Max for. If you just want to spend, look, it's $14.99 a month, right? So if you buy it, right, if you get HBO Max for a month, and you think of what it would cost to get in your car, go to the movie theater, right, pay for popcorn, buy the ticket or tickets, or how much food you'd have to get, right? And the gas to go home, or if you're planning on going out to eat before or after, or whatever the hell you're going to do, realize that you just spent less than that if you just stayed at home and got it on HBO Max for $14.99, and it is worth it just for that. You'd already paid for it. The ticket the month-long subscription pays for itself and what's sent down. I should be getting paid by HBO Max just for talking like this. I don't get paid to tell people to get HBO Max, but I'm telling you, if you want to see this movie and you don't know, like, well, should I get it? Just do the math. Just do the math and think to yourself how much it would cost you in the end to go to the theater, even if there is one open. Okay, so my overall grade actually is that this is like a B plus A minus, like right in there, like it's a BA, like it's AB, it's AB positive. It's an AB positive movie. I really dug it. I can't wait to watch it again. To get into spoilers now, so yes, go see this movie. We've talked for 15 minutes about it. Gal Gadot is so. There were moments in this movie where I was watching Gal Gadot and I would just forget what was happening in the movie. I would just get so lost looking at her. And there were moments in this movie where she's supposed to look beat up. And even when she's just exhausted looking and like wet and disheveled, she looks. I was joking in the chat for the Discord on the Discord while we were watching this that if I ever met Gal Gadot and she smiled at me, I would probably die. Because here's my thing, right? My issue was when they were casting Wonder Woman way back when, pre-Bat, like during Batman v Superman days. This was when I was lobbying for Gina Carano of Haywire and Mandalorian fame to be Wonder Woman. And when they gave it to Gal Gadot, I was salty. Yes, also, Reina pointing out that HBO Max held out. It held up for me perfectly. There was a bit of a second before it got as high a quality as it needed to be, but in the first few seconds, I mean, it didn't really matter. But dang, now I kind of lost my train of thought. So anyway, no, let's start talking spoilers now. So first off, all right, I loved the beginning. I loved it because while there are some CGI issues, there were so many different ways that I saw that they were filming this. There was green screen, there was all CGI, there was stuff that looked like they were using the same technology as they do on The Mandalorian. There was lots of practical effects. There was wire work. There was so many different things going on in this movie, but most of it done correctly. And so even though there's like every single shot requires a different way of thinking about how to film this movie, right? I thought that they pulled off this beginning of the movie with young Diana great. I loved it. I thought it was so much fun, and it didn't feel weird that a little kid's doing this because it's Diana. She's Wonder Woman. She's going to be Wonder Woman. She's going to be outperforming grown-ups. And I really dug it. And what this also made me remember was how much I like Robin Wright and how much I like Connie Nielsen. They don't get enough stuff. I loved Robin Wright on House of Cards, and I just wish that things hadn't gone the way that they went for that show, and for where her character could have gone on that. But Robin Wright, great actress, and that's one thing is that I thought maybe we'd see more of Themyscira in this, a little bit more, but I love that they dedicated this beginning to the story and why it was relevant later on to Diana's character. But it was just a fun, it made me think of trials at Harry Potter, or at Hogwarts for some reason, but for superpowers. And they call her, they say that she cheated, but honestly, they weren't there. To me, it felt like she was improvising. She got knocked off her horse and wasn't able to tag the thing. And so she did what she had to. And I think that she should have been praised for her ingenuity more than cheating, because there was no way she was going to do it without horseback, So I don't know. I don't think she cheated. But I really also we need to talk more about Pedro Pascal's Max Lord because he it's like part of it's almost like overacting, but instead to me it just really feels like he inhabits this character so well that when he's on screen it feels like he's chewing scenery when he's just giving an amazingly okay, it's over the top, but not chewing scenery to me. I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was all over the place, but in a good way. I thought he had an incredible arc compared to poor Kristen Wiig, who just had to go through the regular motions of I got too much power, it went to my head. Now I'm acting like not myself. Feel bad for me because I'm a nerdy, mouseish woman who got power and attention all of a sudden, and realized how great that felt. And then so I didn't want to give it back. So even though I'm a really good person, supposedly deep down, I must be kind of a piece of shit because I want to keep it and don't care about other people, blah, blah, blah. That just, well, Pedro gets to have this arc of a guy who's, he's got these infomercials telling everybody, live the dream, basically doing a Ponzi scheme, basically a con man who's at the end of his rope, but somehow. And I loved when they revealed his offices. I loved that they were, like when they reveal this guy looks like a success when he's such a failure. Like I really did not see that coming. I thought that the fact that the character just seemed like another rich supervillain, who's, corporate guy that's gonna be, wheeling and dealing and doing something dangerous. And instead he's like a nobody. He's just a guy who had a dream, who it went too far. He lost too much money, but somehow he'd been doing research for this wishing stone. And see, these are the moments where you go, well, why would that be? Well, it's because again, it's comic booky. It's old timey TV feel like the mission in a Wonder Woman episode of TV from the 70s, except taken to like really big extremes. And so like he finally gets near this thing that they find, and it's at the museum. And once he takes that power and it just starts to corrupt him, he finally gets everything he wanted. And it's real simple themes, right? Be careful what you wish for, literally, is kind of the whole thing in here, mixed with Diana's, having to realize how to go manage her way through this world alone. Does she want to? Can she? But, with Pedro's whole thing going on, it ends up becoming like this global disaster. And then by the end of the movie, when he's finally, it's something that doesn't happen very often in superhero movies, which is Wonder Woman is able to talk the supervillain down. They don't do that. And while you could say that it felt a little procedural, the thing is that superhero movies haven't been procedural. It's something that they use in procedural so often that it becomes a tired motif in those things. But what we don't see is this happening in superhero movies where the villains don't have to die. Like Cheetah goes the way she goes, and I honestly thought she was dead for a second. And then I thought they would do some 9 Lives bullshit. But she gets caught, and he allows himself to, like, the writers allow this character to see everything that he's done, see where he went wrong, see where all this goes. They don't really show the consequences to what he's done, which I'm sure there would have to be. But the character is allowed to turn back at the last, to turn things around, to change things back, to try to fix things. And they just don't do that very often. And the way that he reacts to it, it all felt organic, even if it is something that had to happen in the 11th hour. I still felt like that was a really good way to end it for the character. without, again, not showing him just get, like in the next scene he's in prison. Let's see, what else do we have to talk about? Steve Trevor. I mean, even in this movie, we got to kind of have a Captain America vibe in this movie with Steve Trevor being the man out of time. To me, I felt like it was like if Cap came back and Peggy got to show Captain America around. Because it was a lot of fun. Chris Pine was a lot of fun. And another thing about Chris Pine is, while I was watching this, was that he looks like the Gary puppet from South Park's Team America, but as a human being. I don't think that's a diss. I don't think that's really a diss to Chris Pine, but he does look like the Gary puppet from Team America. He was a lot of fun to have in here. I thought it was an interesting thing they did where he inhabits the body of another person, but she can't see him. She sees him as this guy, but we know it's him. So when we see her looking at him, we see Chris Pine, even though it's not him. Why they went that route, why they went that difficult instead of just him showing up and saying, hey, I woke up in fucking Germany or wherever the end of the first movie was, and I had to get a plane back here and track you down. I've been actually looking for you for a really long time. But if you can, again, wrap your heads around that shenanigans part of it, which is fun. Like, look, I'm giving this movie some passes on certain things like that. But Chris Pine, I thought, was really funny, really genuine. And again, because it was one of the best things about the original Wonder Woman was they wanted to be able to recreate that kind of chemistry that the two have. And they have it in spades. And so it was nice to see him be the one that, even though I figured out 56 minutes in that Steve was going to be the one to have to say, well, I actually said that he was going to change things himself. But it was to renounce the wish so that things would go back to normal. And then I thought it was going to be Steve that would make that wish. But in the end, he did say that that's what needed to happen. That's just, he wasn't the one to do that. But I thought they used him great here. And he wasn't just, you could kind of say he was a really extended cameo plot device. But I really liked how they used him as a extended cameo plot device. And I think it shows in the actor and how much energy he brought to being there. Because, I mean, in the end, he just has to go away again, right? And that could just be kind of a throwaway role to a guy coming back to it. Like, what else do I do with this? When really his role in this movie was to tell her that final goodbye, give her that real goodbye that they didn't get to have, even though they kind of had to do the Casablanca thing and they're just looking at you, kid, and walk away and then make the wish to, unwish everything. To be the... Okay, Pedro Pascal becoming the Dreamstone himself was pretty nuts. I liked the effect that it had on him as it goes on, is basically kind of killing him if he doesn't just keep getting more and more and more. I loved how that just kept building and building and building up, like at each level that he was going to. I loved that he tried to bring, he was in Egypt to take the guy's oil fields, and then he takes his whole security staff. There was just a lot of weird, fun character stuff. And like I said, the only thing is that it went on too long. And so I want to make sure I don't go on too long with this either. And so without giving everything away, right? I'm gonna look really quickly. Her learning how to fly moment was it gave me chills. Her learning how to fly superhero moment. I thought that was fantastic. For some reason, it was really, really cool when she just got up there and heard Steve's voice talking about, just catching the wind. I thought it was really nice. I love, that we got a kind of a something we hadn't seen in a little while. It's just like a run of the, like a, yep, it's the end of the world as we know it movie. You know, like everything's about to go down. Russia versus this, you know, America with nuclear weapons. Like, I don't know. Everything's been aliens and snaps and half the galaxy getting disappeared. That just your run of the mill apocalypse happening. Kind of nice. It was kind of convenient that they had their worldwide broadcast plans sitting out in the White House Oval Office at the same time that the guy that wanted to reach as many people as possible came in the room. There was bits of Scrooge to like Ebenezer Scrooge and other characters like that with Pedro Pascal. I kind of feel like that whole like George Bailey, like Pedro Pascal kind of got to see like what life was gonna be like and got to renounce his wish. But I think that's all I really need to talk about. I think I've been pretty positive. Like I said, that not everything about this was great, but it was a lot of fun. I am super glad that this is like the first superhero movie in a while. It makes me feel like superhero fatigue has not set in. It just hopefully needs to be done at least as good as this. And it makes me feel even more hopeful to what DC can put out there. As long as they kind of keep going this route. Like, I'm not rooting for the Batman movie or whatever that now is getting retooled. I want all of this stuff to be good. But again, they need to keep doing stuff like this. Stop taking it all so seriously. Tell the stories you want to tell. You got the actors already. I think they would like to see themselves do different things with these characters rather than just continue to churn them out over and over and over, not really doing anything interesting with them. I mean, don't turn it into Stranger Things. Don't do Wonder Woman 96, but have some more fun with it. Realize what you're making. You're making superhero movies. That's all they have to be. So anyway, if you liked this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications. Thanks for watching, everybody, by the way. Thanks for everybody in the chat showing up here as well. I really appreciate it. We will be back to, you guys aren't, by the time you see this, it'll already be up, but we're watching, don't forget to look on the channel for the Batman Returns review that's also coming up Christmas Day. So Wonder Woman and Batman, it's a DC day here. All right, so have a great night, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your holiday, and we will see you on the next video. I started thinking, start singing like the Wonder Woman music. Oh yeah, Linda Carter had a cameo at the very end. Like in the middle of the credits. It was fine. Peace out, everybody.